Hi, everyone. Welcome to Broadband Deployment News. J.D. Power report that just came out has fixed wireless 5G service from the major carriers outperforming fiber and cable wired connections, especially on price. Be right back to add some context. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So wanted to go through this and, like I say, add some context, because sometimes you see a headline like this and you might be thinking, wow, I can't believe fixed wireless versus fiber, and fixed wireless seems to be winning that battle, both on performance and certainly on price. But again, there's some context here, and there's probably some variables that are kind of some uncertainties and variables that are playing a factor in this. So I just wanted to walk through it real quick. So you see here, fixed wireless consistently outperforms fiber optic and cable, internet, and customer satisfaction. That's what we're talking about, is customer satisfaction. But of course, when we're talking about customer satisfaction, we're talking about not just pricing, but just how people feel about the service in general. And that would include things like speeds that they're getting. Are they happy with that? Just overall satisfaction. Let's put it that way. So you see here, while fixed wireless access is unlikely to be as fast as a connection as fiber, certainly not, it is fast enough to connect at a speed that handles most internet needs. And when I say certainly not, most people that are getting 5G fixed wireless service across the nation are getting mid-band spectrum. So they're not getting millimeter wave spectrum, which means they're not in the gig range for their speeds. So it's going to be much less fast than, let's say, a millimeter wave, which Verizon has a little bit of it, which I'll mention here in a minute. But you see here, advancements in 5G technology allow fixed wireless access to provide higher data rates, reduce latency, and improve reliability. That's true. All of that has improved with wireless access recently with 5G. 5G-based fixed wireless has the potential to rival traditional wired connections, enabling gigabit speeds and unlocking new applications and services. Again, that potential for gigabit speeds is with millimeter wave 5G, and you don't see that much except in urban areas, because millimeter wave requires small cell technology where you've got line of sight, where you have no interference at all. Even rain, you can get rain fade with millimeter wave, and if you have any trees in the way, that can block the signal. So it's very sensitive to attenuation. So you don't see that much. Verizon started rolling that out early on, but now really what Verizon, I think, is focusing on is the same thing that T-Mobile is, which is mid-band spectrum, which is not nearly as fast, but goes a lot further and is a lot less susceptible to attenuation. So while it can rival fiber, you don't see it much except in select areas. According to the latest J.D. Power data, customers with fixed wireless access are embracing the new technology, as fixed wireless access is already besting fiber optic service in terms of customer satisfaction. And again, I think there's some context there, because one of the reasons I think that fixed wireless gets really high scores is one of the reasons that Starlink gets really high scores. Starlink is great if you're in an area where you can't get better service, and then maybe you've been suffering with poor DSL service, and then Starlink comes out and you're like, wow, this is way faster, and the latency's not bad with Starlink, and so you're used to being able to do things on the internet that you couldn't do before. So people who get Starlink love it because they had no great options before. And I think a lot of that is what we see with fixed wireless access when we're talking about people's satisfaction as far as the service. But there's also the price factor as well. And you can't say that with Starlink. People are generally, they're not going to rave about the price. It's not like they have better options that are more expensive in general. They usually have worse options that are more expensive. They might have geosynchronous satellite service that is not as fast, the latency is higher, and it's more expensive sometimes, or just as expensive. So with fixed wireless access in certain areas, I think that's probably part of what's going on. We see here fixed wireless access resonates with customers. An analysis of customer experiences with fixed wireless access, J.D. Power finds that the benefits extend across diverse residential landscapes. And this is interesting. In fact, 5G fixed wireless access users have the highest satisfaction regardless of their location. Fiber, while a strong contender, ranks second in customer satisfaction, underlying the robust performance of 5G fixed wireless access in meeting user expectations across various geographies. So they are kind of taking some of that, away there, what I just was saying, that in urban areas and suburban areas, you're going to have access to other technologies. And there, I think, tends to be the price factor really working in there, where people are unhappy with maybe they've been, and a lot of times with a cable operator, maybe they've been with a cable operator where the prices are high and they have to sign up for these long terms, and they feel like they're not getting what they're paying for. Maybe it's not as reliable as fiber. So they sign up for a fixed wireless access for much less, no contract, so they're happy, that kind of thing. So I think we see some of that there. You see here, rural is the dark blue, suburban is the light blue, and then we've got urban as the green. And if you look at this, they're saying 5G home internet. Again, I got to look at that again. So this is rural. So even in these urban areas, in fact, you see the green lines are really high, which is very surprising to me. That in areas where you've got densely packed people, you're going to have other options. You're going to have a cable modem service, and you're going to have a fiber service a lot of times, and you're going to have some DSL service. And this kind of is a flag for me that in urban areas you've got DSL that's rated so highly. I'm just not sure why that would be, unless the numbers are skewed here, where DSL is really not that common in urban areas. So you've got some skewing going on. Where you tend to see that would be a urban area where, and a lot of times it's a smaller urban area where you've got in the town, in the more densely parts of the town, you've got cable modem access and you've got fiber access in a lot of cases, and it's fairly good service. But then as you get more to the outskirts, the provider there did not upgrade their plant. A lot of times, if it's maybe a telephone provider, they didn't upgrade their DSL to fiber in those areas. They haven't worked out to those areas, or it could be a cable operator where they're not providing service out there, and the only thing available would be DSL or fixed wireless or something like that. So you'll see that in urban areas, and you will see some DSL out there. Like I say, maybe where you've got AT&T's, or AT&T, let's say, is providing fiber service in the town, but if you go to the outskirts of the town, it's still DSL, and they're still building out to that area. They haven't gotten around to it. So I think maybe that's some of what we're seeing, but this is very surprising that it's like this over these geographies. But you can see here that, again, if you're looking at fiber, so we've got fiber right here, fiber cable. I'm not sure what the difference between that is and coax cable. But we've got, again, fixed wireless access. This is urban, sorry. Fiber and cable you've got on the urban side. Right here, it's highest. These charts are so confusing. I'm sorry. I'm mixing up the different colors. So again, the green is urban. So this is urban and it's fiber. So it's high, but it's not as high as 5G. So that's what we're looking at. So 5G is leading here in all of these categories, in the dark blue, and the light blue, and the green. It's leading generally across all of those areas. When evaluating customer satisfaction, both cable and fiber internet proved to be on par with each other, matching the performance of 4G LTE fixed wireless access. However, both trail 5G fixed wireless access, as the satisfaction levels associated with 5G surpass all other forms of internet by an impressive margin of more than 20 points on a 1,000-point scale. So again, looking at the colors beforehand here, so we look at these. So we've got 5G home internet. It's kind of that pretty blue color there. Then you got fiber is green, DSL that darker blue, 4G LTE. So this would be, like a T-Mobile or a Verizon that hasn't upgraded that to 5Gs that are providing 4G on a fixed wireless method, and then cable coax with your cable operator right there. So we're looking at that. You see again, here you've got AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile. T-Mobile does not have their own wired service. They're participating in some open access networks in places where if you go to their website, you might see, hey, check and see if we can provide fiber. What they're really saying is, we're in this particular city where they have an open access network and we're one of the choices you can make. AT&T and Verizon provide both fixed wireless access as well as their wired service through old DSL copper technology as well as their fiber technology. So as we're looking at this, we see AT&T on the DSL and then Verizon on the DSL side. Obviously, you'd expect those to be the lowest as far as satisfaction goes. Then you've got, again, this blue color, that is their 4G LTE. So you got AT&T down at the bottom on that. Verizon's a little higher. Then you got T-Mobile, the highest on that. Then the green is fiber. So you'd expect higher satisfaction on that. And again, Verizon leads a little bit on that on fiber. But then you've got the 5G home internet, this line right here, and that is above AT&T and Verizon's wired service, their fiber service. And then you've got up here on T-Mobile, of course, they don't have the wired service, but their fixed wireless 5G gets the highest satisfaction, way above these others. So what's going on here, I'm not sure as far as with AT&T and Verizon as to why their fixed wireless satisfaction is higher other than price. And we'll see here that that is a big factor, that if they're charging a certain amount for fiber and it's less expensive to get the fixed wireless access service, that could be a big part of it, because it does say here the price factor. While the performance and reliability of both fiber and 5G internet are high, the primary distinguishing factor between the connection types is the cost of service. Again, we get those same colors, it looks like. So here, we've got performance and reliability. And again, performance and reliability, the 5G exceeds even the fiber from the providers that are providing both. And again, I have to think that these are not in the same area. So it's not, I have a feeling that we're looking at people that are getting the 5G service in areas where they can't get fiber. Maybe they could get DSL, but they can't get fiber. So they have AT&T DSL available to them, and they have maybe T-Mobile. Who knows? This is... Well, yeah, so they've got T-Mobile here. So it could be that they have T-Mobile that they've got the fixed wireless access from, or they've got the AT&T fixed wireless access. Because I'd be really surprised that overall performance and reliability, that they'd feel better about the fixed wireless. I think we're throwing in a lot of fixed wireless customers here into this chart that don't have any other options. So for them, yeah, it's great. It's like I said, Starlink. If you threw Starlink in here, they'd have really high scores. But would people prefer that price-wise? And we're not looking at price here. Would they prefer that price-wise and performance-wise over fiber? I don't think so. So I think there's mixed stuff in here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we can take this the way that it seems to be saying that it is, which would be that people prefer, for example, AT&T fixed wireless over the AT&T fiber product. I'd be very surprised if that's really the case. I think we're mixing things together in here. Then we've got price, which this doesn't surprise me at all. Because pricing is a factor for folks. And you see here, again, this is fiber. AT&T is a little higher satisfaction on price for both fiber and DSL. And this is their, lower. Wait a minute. No, they're higher. Yeah, they're higher. And then Verizon's a little higher on the LTE. And then T-Mobile here, you've got much higher on theirs as far as pricing. And T-Mobile's got some very attractive price plans. I haven't looked at the other ones, but they certainly went into the market with a low, let's get some market share price. They were definitely trying to get a lot of market share all at once, and it's worked for them. You know, they've added a ton of fixed wireless subscribers recently, and just the last couple of years. And really, that's been the case just the last couple of years. Really, the growth in broadband, the only thing that's been keeping broadband growth on the positive side has been this 5G fixed wireless service from people like T-Mobile, mostly T-Mobile, but also Verizon, and now AT&T's adding more fixed wireless customers as well, as we'll see here in a minute in our article. So price is definitely an issue, as we see here. While fiber and 5G fixed wireless access exhibit comparable performance and reliability experience scores. Wait a minute, let me read that again. While fiber and 5G fixed wireless exhibit comparable performance and reliability experience, scores 5G fixed wireless leads, I don't know what that's saying. 5G fixed wireless leads on cost of service by a margin of more than 60 points. So yeah, fixed wireless much better on price. As customers will still wrestle with a high cost of consumer goods, and inflation stubbornly hovers around 3%. Cost will likely play a pivotal role in an industry disruption, with all signs pointing toward more customers actively seeking out fixed wireless access. So that is a concern that both cable operators have, and fiber operators that don't have a fixed wireless play that could lose that customer completely, because price is an issue, and sometimes people look at that, like I say, they see their price, and here's where it happens, is they'll be on with somebody like Comcast, and they'll be paying a certain price, and then that special promotional deal ends. And when that special promotional deal ends, they may not notice it right away. It might take 2 or 3 months, but they notice, wow, my bill just went from like $80 to $150. what the heck's going on? And, and they look into it, and maybe it's got video on there too, so it could be a bundle package. They look into it and they realize, oh, wow, the price went up. So they'll call and see if they can get the price drop. But now some people are saying, well, let me look at some other options because I've got T-Mobile here and I can check their pricing and see what I can get. And it's easy. There's no wires, so it's easy to get set up and try it out, and you can see if you like it. So easier, I should say. There's always the hassle of getting a new service, and do I have to, how do I go into the route or change all my passwords on everything that's connected and do all those? That stuff's kind of a bit of a pain, but it's not like a bunch of wires getting pulled out and that kind of thing. You bring the little box. You get the box shipped to you, usually a lot of like self-install, plug it in, follow the instructions, and boom, you're on. So this is a risk for providers that are not looking at price as being, they need to be more sensitive on price now. And again, these deals where you get a promotion and then you get sticker shock. People are starting to get to the point where they're not going to even bother calling if they can go get another option. So I want to look at a couple other things here. T-Mobile specifically, I want to check this out. So if you look at T-Mobile, this is their pricing. So you got $40 per month for their price if you get a certain kind of phone service with it, or $50 with another kind of phone service, depending on what you get there. This is the fixed wireless access, but what you would pay if you are getting phone service from them. And $60 if you just want internet by itself per month with auto pay. New customers who only add home internet, 5G, Wi-Fi gateway device included, free 2-day shipping. T-Mobile Tuesday perks, that's where you can get some freebies. On Tuesdays you can check and they'll give you some free stuff or some discounts on things. And you can check availability. Now, the last time I checked availability months ago, it said, hey, you can get this, but sign up quickly because there's only limited room for customers. And that's one of the problems that you have with these services if you're going to rely on this as saying that an area is served as far as BEAD funding, for example, because my area said I could get this a little while ago, but I checked it, and now it says it's not available at your address, but we may have options that work for you. Can also something else, and I can call there. I can join a wait list. So I guess the more people that join a wait list, then maybe they say, okay, we need to get more spectrum over here so we can serve more customers. We got people that want this, but that's a problem, obviously, if you're saying an area is covered because of fixed wireless access from somebody like T-Mobile, and it's covered as long as you don't get too many customers. That's not really served. Okay, you need to be able to handle every single customer there, not necessarily all at once, which I said yesterday when I was talking about something else. But you need to be able to, if you have 100% of the people in that area want to sign up for your service, you don't need to be able to do that on day one. But you need to be able to, as you get more subscribers, be able to grow and serve those people, and not ever say, sorry, can't take any more customers right now. That's not the way it works. So and then also I was looking at this, speeds. What kind of speeds can you expect from T-Mobile? Because I was saying that, gigabit is not normally what you're going to get with mid-band spectrum. You see here with the T-Mobile home internet customers receive consistent broadband speeds and see typical download speeds between 72 and 245 megabits per second, which is a great speed for streaming videos, surfing the web, working from home, and most types of online gaming. 25% of our customers see speeds below 25% below, and 25% see speeds above this range. So not very consistent. And again, it's under 100 on the typical download speeds in a lot of cases, if that's what they're saying here. So it's good, and it's true that this is good enough for most people. And I know everybody says, fiber, gig symmetrical, you got to have it. Well, you don't necessarily have to have it. Some people need those kinds of speeds, but it's way more than enough for what most people need. So that's one reason why some people sometimes will switch to this, and they're realizing, I can pretty much do everything I was doing before. I'm not having any issues, and it's costing me $60 a month versus $80 a month versus $100 a month or whatever. So they're saving money every month getting a service like this. So that's something that fiber operators need to be keeping in mind is you don't want to just put a gig product out there and say, okay, we're going to do a gig at $80 and we're going to do 10 gigs at $120 and we're going to forget about anything under a gig because anything under a gig really isn't internet. Well, if you do that, you're going to lose out to folks that are very price sensitive that say, you know what, these kinds of speeds are fine for me for everything I'm doing and I don't want to pay that much money. I looked at the broadband map to get an idea, because again, it was I was looking at what was available, and I looked downtown in Atlanta to see, because I knew Verizon was doing millimeter wave in some areas, and in some areas when I'm looking at Verizon, it looks very similar to what you have at T-Mobile. But here you see in kind of a downtown address I just picked, you got Verizon advertising a gig by 75. So this is most likely, I think certainly, their millimeter wave service. So again, small cells that are in this area that are delivering gig speeds. I think that's what that has to be. And then you got T-Mobile advertising 100 by 20. So this would be their 5G fixed wireless service. In other areas, like in my area, when I looked at it, it was 25 by 3. So that's probably their LTE service, because I can't get the 5G service right now. So they're not advertising that on the broadband map at this time. But it's interesting that those two, the 120 and the 25 by 3, are right on the cusp of unserved and underserved. And that's a big problem, again, with BEAD funding and the broadband data collection, where somebody like T-Mobile will say, yeah, we offer maximum advertised speed of 100 by 20. Well, it's just telling you that you can get 75 to 245, and 25% of the people get less maybe than the 75. So you don't know what you're going to get. So that's another issue that we have, as you have broadband service that's right on the cusp of where these unserved and underserved kind of categories are. So that's why I think we need to be focusing on technologies that can get us well above that, so that there's really no question. And really, more importantly, so that we don't leave those areas off of the map, or take them off of the map, I should say, so that then somebody can't come in and fund. I think in areas that are just served by fixed wireless that is at these kinds of speeds, if it's advertising 100 by 20, I don't think we should necessarily be trusting that, because we don't know. Unless you were to go out there and do testing everywhere, you just can't tell. And then you'd be, again, if that would be an area where fiber is feasible, then you're blocking it from the map. Now, there are going to be areas where fiber is not feasible. It's just going to be too expensive. Geography is going to be really hard. It's going to be not enough customers, not dense enough to be able to support that. That's a different story. If you can't make a case, if you can't make the ROI for fiber, then fixed wireless is definitely the way to go. But in areas where you could make the case for fiber, that's what we need to be doing. And that's really kind of the way BEAD is supposed to be focused, is fiber first, unserved, then underserved. Fiber is the option unless you're at that extremely high cost threshold, and then you can look at other technologies to be able to come in and fill those gaps. And then I also wanted to look, there's a couple of stories here just about what's going on with fixed wireless. We see here AT&T fixed wireless access subscribers surpass expectations. This was in Broadband Breakfast. So there have been a couple of earnings calls recently. So we had AT&T and Verizon. I think T-Mobile, I didn't see anything with them. They're probably coming out. But again, fixed wireless has been where we've been seeing the growth, T-Mobile especially. But AT&T originally was not focusing so much on fiber, but they've been doing a little bit more focus on that. So they've grown some. So you see here they added more fixed wireless broadband subscribers than expected in the first quarter of 2024. They said in an earnings call they added 110,000 subscribers to the AT&T Internet Air service. It launched last year, ahead of the 77,000 analysts had expected, and bringing a total of 203,000 connections. Fixed wireless broadband still isn't as big a part of AT&T's business as some of its competitors like Verizon, which crossed the 2 million subscriber mark for its residential fixed wireless access in the first quarter this year, and certainly T-Mobile has more than that. In line with previous statements from Chief Financial Officer Pascal Desroches, AT&T CEO John Stankey said on Wednesday earnings call that the company is still focused on fiber broadband, and it's set on using its fixed wireless access selectively. So they are focused on fiber, not so much building it themselves, but through this private-public, not a joint venture that I'll talk about here in a minute. Actually talks about it in the article. For example, Stankey said that in areas where the company is shuttering legacy copper, that would be DSL, legacy copper infrastructure, and we know that it'll be 12 months or 18 months from fiber deployment, we may want to hold some customers. So yeah, that's smart. So if they've got DSL out there, they know they can't get fiber out there right away for 12 months or so, then they're going to go with fixed wireless, again, to try to hold on to those customers, to say, hey, here's something that's faster than the DSL you have. We'll be bringing fiber soon. And for a lot of customers, they'll be fine with that because the speeds are going to be better than they're getting now. AT&T consumer fiber adds were in line with expectations at 252,000. in the 3 months ending March 31st, putting local fiber subscription or total fiber subscriptions at 8.6 million, a 14.3% increase from the same quarter last year. That also helped broadband revenues increase 7.7% from the same period, hitting 2.7 billion. Company currently passes more than 27 million locations with its fiber infrastructure and is working with investment firm BlackRock on a separate open access network on which it will be the first tenant. So that's the joint partnership I was talking about, that them and BlackRock and it builds the network basically. AT&T is the first tenant on it as a open access network, and then other people can go on there. That could be a local internet service provider could go on there and ride along that fiber, or T-Mobile or Verizon, anybody that would be a residential internet provider that doesn't want to have the infrastructure, including AT&T as being the first tenant, can take advantage of that. So, and then there was a quick story here about Verizon in light reading. Verizon fixed wireless access business loses some steam in Q1. They're just not growing as fast, is what this is saying basically. So Verizon continued to tack on fixed wireless access customers in the first quarter of 2024. However, the rate of growth in the consumer segment slowed from the year ago quarter. Verizon added 354,000 total fixed wireless subs. That's residential and business in the quarter, versus 393 in the year ago period. Verizon ended Q1 with 3.42 million fixed wireless subs. So they've got a good number of subscribers on the fixed wireless. The company posted a record 151,000 new business fixed wireless subs for a total of 1.35 million. It also gained 203,000 residential fixed wireless customers, down from a gain of 256 in the year ago period. So again, they're still growing, but the growth has slowed. Growth in fixed wireless is still relatively strong, but their quarterly results continue to decelerate, something we wouldn't have expected given the early stage of their band 76 C-band footprint. So what they're talking about there is Verizon held back on doing this because they didn't have a lot of spectrum, mid-band spectrum. That's why they were focusing on the millimeter wave in urban areas. But when they participated in the C-band auction, they got a lot of that spectrum. They had to hold off on that for a while because of concerns about airplane altimeters and interference around airports. So some of that was delayed, but they've got a good amount of spectrum now with the C-band. So they're saying they're kind of surprised. But some of that could be people that jumped on the T-Mobile train during that period, or just other builds that are going on where places at one point were not served very well, and somebody came in and deployed fiber. So the number of subscribers that you can go after with this fixed wireless product is shrinking as more wired broadband is built. So again, price is going to be the main factor that's going to get somebody to switch over to a fixed wireless if they already have good internet service in their area. Verizon added 49,000 residential Fios internet customers, down from a gain of 63,000 a year earlier. Verizon ended the quarter with 7.02 million residential Fios internet subs. So they're back to adding fiber internet. They took a break there for a while. They were just like Google Fiber took a break for a while. But now people are realizing, fiber, Verizon, Google are back trying to get more fiber subscribers. AT&T, yes, but through their joint venture with BlackRock is how they're kind of focusing on that. And here it says, actually that's coming up here. So Verizon consumer trends across Fios and fixed wireless access are a preview of slower market growth in broadband that will be a theme as other service providers issue quarterly results, New Street analyst Jonathan Chaplin said in a research note. And here's what I was going to say. So no appetite for open access models. Verizon currently does not have much of an appetite for pursuing open access models, such as the one being pursued by J.D Power. That's the AT&T and BlackRock fiber-focused joint venture that's building networks to about 1.5 million locations outside of AT&T's legacy wireline footprint. And that's really where AT&T is looking at that. So I think if they've got an area that's got DSL, I don't think they'll probably go in there with the joint venture with BlackRock. I think they're going to go in there and upgrade that infrastructure themselves. But in these new areas where they don't have a footprint, they and BlackRock are going in together and doing these open access networks. Well, Verizon's saying, we don't really think we want to do that. Verizon chairman and CEO Hans Vestberg said the company will evaluate open access opportunities as they come up, but stressed that Verizon has yet to find one that provides an attractive return on investment. So But they don't have to do that. They don't have to do this on their own. If AT&T, if BlackRock, if GigaPower, meaning AT&T and BlackRock together, build an open access network somewhere, Verizon can come in and participate with that. And all they have to do is market the service. And there's going to be maybe some other things that they have to do as part of that, but they don't have to deal with any of building of the infrastructure. So the return on investment doesn't need to be nearly as high to be able to cover those costs. So they can do that, just like I mentioned, T-Mobile can do that. And T-Mobile is doing that on other open access networks. So Verizon could certainly participate on this GigaPower thing that AT&T and BlackRock are working on. So fixed wireless is something that is a definitely competitive threat for wireline providers. I think especially cable, because cable not as good as fiber in some cases. A lot of cable operators have been hit hard with that, and sometimes it's the larger guys, the MSOs, that have not been able to keep up with what customers want as far as customer service and the negative connotations of a cable operator. Less so in rural areas where the cable operators kind of part of the community kind of thing. But I think we've seen some losses in some of the large broadband providers. Like I was saying, that's why we see generally, as you've been looking at broadband subs over the last year or so, the large providers have been losing broadband subscribers, and the fixed wireless guys, especially T-Mobile again, but Verizon now and AT&T are picking up subscribers. So that's where we've been seeing the growth. So that is definitely a threat for the folks that are out there that are doing just the wired stuff. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. If you've got any questions, comments, you can leave those in the YouTube chat, not the chat at this point, on the comments there. I'd be happy to get back to you. But thanks for watching. Give me a like on the video if you like the video. And if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and you'll be notified when I'm live. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.